Person in this room because I do one part, but it would not be where it is without this part. So all of you and all the hard work you do, thank you so much. Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Yay!
Selena Gomez stepped into the spotlight at Ulta Beauty World 2026 with a calm confidence that immediately drew attention, arriving not just as a celebrity guest, but as someone deeply connected to the evolving beauty industry. She moved through the venue surrounded by flashes of cameras, conversations from excited attendees, and a steady hum of a conference built around innovation, influence, and connection. The event itself gathered some of the most engaged founders, creators, and experts in the market, creating an atmosphere that felt both professional and electric. As she entered the main hall, people turned, whispers spread quickly, and within moments her presence became one of the central highlights of the day. She greeted familiar faces warmly, exchanged smiles with brand founders, and paused often to engage in brief but meaningful conversations, showing genuine interest rather than rushed politeness. The masterclasses were already underway, featuring detailed discussions on product development, branding strategies, and consumer engagement, and she took her seat among industry leaders, listening attentively as speakers broke down their journeys, challenges, and breakthroughs. There was a noticeable shift in energy whenever she leaned forward or reacted, as if the audience mirrored her curiosity. During one session, a founder shared an unexpected turning point in their brand's early days, and Selena responded with a nod that felt personal, almost as if she understood that moment deeply. It was a reminder that behind the fame, she carried her own experiences navigating business and creativity. And right there, if you're enjoying this kind of inside look, make sure to subscribe quickly and stay with the story, because the day continued unfolding in layers. After the session ended, she joined a small group discussion where experts exchanged ideas more freely. The conversation moved from product formulas to emotional branding, touching on how authenticity had become a driving force in modern beauty. Selena spoke briefly, her voice steady, sharing insights that were simple yet grounded, and the group listened closely. Her words didn't dominate the room, but they carried weight. As the conference progressed, she transitioned between scheduled meetings and spontaneous interactions. Stopping by booths where emerging brands showcased their products, she tested textures, asked questions, and offered encouragement that clearly meant something to the founders standing there, many of them visibly excited just to have that moment. The atmosphere around her felt less like a traditional celebrity appearance and more like a collaborative presence. Cameras continued capturing every move, but there was a sense that something more meaningful was happening beneath the surface. In another masterclass, the focus shifted to community building, a topic that resonated strongly throughout the event. Speakers emphasized the importance of trust, storytelling, and consistent engagement. And Selena listened closely again, occasionally exchanging glances with those seated nearby, as if silently agreeing with certain points. When the session opened for questions, she didn't rush to speak, but when she did, the room quieted instantly. Her question was thoughtful, centered on maintaining authenticity while scaling a brand, and it sparked a deeper discussion among the panelists, drawing connections between personal identity and business growth. The conversation extended beyond the scheduled time, showing how a single moment could shift the entire dynamic of a session. As the day moved forward, the energy remained high. Attendees moved between rooms, networking spaces filled with animated conversations, and everywhere Selena went, there was a respectful distance mixed with admiration. She wasn't isolated, but she also wasn't overwhelmed. It was a balance that allowed her to engage without losing the flow of the event. At one point, she paused near a display featuring a newer brand, listening as the founder explained their inspiration. Her response was warm, encouraging, and it left a visible impact. The founder smiled long after she walked away, holding on to that brief exchange. Moments like these repeated throughout the day, creating a pattern that defined her presence. Not just appearances, but connections. As the afternoon sessions began, the focus shifted again, this time toward future trends and technological advancements in beauty. Speakers introduced ideas that pushed boundaries, discussing personalization, sustainability, and digital integration. Selena remained engaged, occasionally jotting notes, showing that she wasn't just there to be seen, but to absorb, to learn, to contribute in her own way. The crowd noticed this, and it added another layer to how she was perceived, not just as a figure of influence, but as someone actively participating in the evolution of the space before. One of the key presentations, there was a brief pause, a transition moment where attendees settled into their seats. And this is where another quick reminder fits naturally. If you're following this journey and want more stories like this, go ahead and subscribe, because the most important part was still ahead. The keynote session began with a powerful introduction, setting the tone for what would become one of the most talked about moments of the conference. The speaker shared a narrative that blended personal struggle with professional triumph, and the room listened in complete silence. Selena's reactions were subtle but noticeable. A slight smile here, a thoughtful expression there, as if she was connecting pieces of the story to her own experiences. When the session concluded, the applause was strong, echoing across the hall, and as people began to stand, conversation started immediately, analyzing key points, sharing impressions, and reflecting on what they had just heard. Selena joined in, speaking with a small group, her tone calm but engaged, adding to the collective energy that defined the moment. The event continued with networking sessions designed to bring people closer together, and this is where her presence became even more impactful. Moving through the space, she greeted attendees, posed for photos, and shared brief conversations that left lasting impressions. There was no rush in her interactions, no sense of obligation, just a steady rhythm of genuine engagement. As the evening approached, the atmosphere shifted slightly, becoming more relaxed but no less vibrant. Lights softened, conversations deepened, and the day's experiences began to settle into memory. Selena took a moment to step back, observing the room, the people, the energy, as if taking in the full scope of what the event represented. It wasn't just a conference, it was a gathering of ideas, ambitions, and shared passion, and she had been part of it in a way that felt both natural and meaningful. As she prepared to leave, there was a final wave of attention, cameras capturing her exit, attendees watching as she moved toward the exit. But even in that moment, she paused, turning back briefly to acknowledge the space once more, a small gesture that felt significant. And right before wrapping this story, here's one last quick nudge. Subscribe to stay connected to more moments like this, because each event carries stories worth telling. As she stepped outside, the noise of the conference faded behind her, replaced by a quieter atmosphere. But the impact of her presence remained inside, carried by the conversation she had sparked, the connection she had made, and the impression she had left. Ulta Beauty World 2026 continued beyond her departure, but her role in it had already been defined, not by grand speeches or dramatic moments, but by consistent, genuine engagement throughout the day. And as attendees reflected on their experiences, her presence stood out as one of the defining elements, woven into the fabric of the event from beginning to end, leaving behind a story that continued to unfold long after the doors closed and the lights dimmed.